Hey everybody, this is me. Welcome back to my channel. My name is ScottyAllenDay. Man, the mornings are getting darker and it's getting rainy and nasty outside. I had to use my little light over here to be able to see my notes. So, sleep was important back in the day to hitchhikers and hobos. Now, I'm talking about hitchhikers and hobos because of the fact that their motto has changed. The motto of sleep back then was a place to lay your head and keep your bag safe. That's pretty much was the creed of a hobo, was the creed of or the motto of a hobo, the motto of a hitchhiker, and anybody that did traveling shows. You needed a place to lay your head and a place to keep your bag safe. So that means a place to keep your bag from being stolen, and you keep your belongings to yourself. Now, I will talk about the motto in another video in more detail. But keep this in mind throughout this video. This motto has changed to the modern day traveler and the modern day worker. So, when back in the day when you hitchhiked or were basically a traveling hobo, you would always try and find a place to sleep at night. Whether it was on a bridge underpass, whether it was in a boxcar of a train, whether it was a abandoned warehouse, or even a tree. You would always find some place to be able to sleep that you know that you're away from everybody else and you can be able to keep your belongings safe. Now, if you were underneath the bridge on an interstate highway, 99% of the time you will end up with a state trooper that'll pull up, wake you up, and tell you to get the heck off underneath that overpass. So, now, the average worker that is working 16-hour days, 17-hour days, 18-hour days, or the traveler that's stuck in an airport overnight because the flight has been the last flight out of there has been canceled due to some unforeseen event. Well, they really don't have a place to lay their head and a place to keep the bag safe. If they fall asleep with their head on a suitcase, by morning it could be gone. So, basically, Japan ended up with a big solution with that, and they built sleeping pods. Sleeping pods were normally about the same size as about a twin size or a full size mattress. Which would be about, I would say, 7 feet long by about 4 feet wide for a twin, 7 feet long by about 7 feet wide, so it'd be 7 by 7. You know the point. So that's about how wide and how long a sleeping pod is. Now, there's other types of sleeping pods. There's one that's like basically a closet. You go in. There's your bed in there. There's a work desk, and you can be able to stay in the pod. There's other pods to where it's a bunk. It's like a bunk bed with walls. So you have an upper bunk and a lower bunk, and then you have a wall in front, and you have some kind of a vinyl steel mesh type curtain that goes down, and you can be able to lock it from the inside, and the fire department has a key to be able to unlock it from the outside. These are extremely popular in Japan. Workers use it all the time. Tourists use it all the time. Travelers use it all the time. Now, the general cost of, and I did a bunch of math last night and did some research, and, just to talk a little bit about pods, and then we'll go and talk a little bit more about the other things that I have on my notes. So, the average pod cost that I see is anywhere between $25 to $30 per night, which is about $700. A hostel is about the same, which is $25 to $30 a night, which is about $700. If you stayed in a motel, the average cost is about $50 to $75 a night, depending on where you're at, and that would be probably about $1,600 a month. I don't know if I clarified with the pod and the hostel. It would be $700 a month. It's $700 a month. And if you were staying in an airport pod, it would be $50 to $100 per hour, and then they would have an 8-hour charge, which you can say, which would cost you a flat rate of about $165 for 8 hours. So now you have the general prices in your head about what these pods would cost. Now, San Francisco has a startup. I guess the Fortune brothers started up a sleeping pod, and it's a sleeping pod with a shared space, and they rent those out for $700 a month. Like I said, it was $25 to $30 a night, $700 a month. Basically, all you'd have access to is your pod that you're sleeping in, and the common area that's around the common area that's located on the floor that you're on. In Japan, if you rent out a pod, sometimes they give you continental breakfast. You have access to a pool and laundry facilities. Now, if you stayed in a hostel, which is about the same price, are your belongings secure? More than likely, they're not. If you were in a hostel is like a barracks style living situation. You go in, you check in, they have certain genders on certain floors, male, female, that sort of thing. You stay on your floor, and you have 10 bunk beds in one room, and half the time there's no doors. You're going to stay in your room, and you share a restroom with everybody else on the same floor. It's the same thing with all other floors. Most pods are gender friendly because most of the time it's basically split in half, and then you have males on one side, females on one side, and some of these other pods that they've talked about building will have a gender neutral floor. Okay, so what else do I got on here? So in other words, a hostel is safer than, a pod is safer than a hostel, because in a pod, if you're in Japan, more than likely they would have lockers. You get a complimentary pair of pajamas, take a shower, and then you go to your pod. In the States, you have your pod, and you'll have a storage area underneath your pod. You lift up your pod base, and you have a storage base underneath where you sleep. So they have to basically lift you up to steal your stuff. Let's see here. What else do I have? I covered that. Covered that. I covered that. Covered that. So pods are at the airport vary to something like a lounger. You have a enclosure around you to a room. They currently have them in about 5 airports. I don't have them all on the top of my head, but I saw that they were in 5 separate airports. Denver is getting ready to put together some. Currently, Denver just has chase lounges that you can be able to sleep on throughout the airport. I remember actually having to do that because I had to stay overnight in Denver, and I ended up sleeping on one of those. Let's see here. Now, the way that I see this is if we can be able to get through a lot of the fire code, get approved by fire marshals, that pods could actually be the next big thing in the United States and Europe. And because of the pods' popularity in Japan, and people have already seen them, it will be popular among workers. It will be popular against younger working people. It will be popular against college students because of the fact that, yeah, it's $700 a month in San Francisco. Now, don't forget, San Francisco has $300 a month in rent in San Francisco. In other places, I would probably say that would probably be cut. I mean, $3,000 a month. Pardon me. In other places, it would probably be about $350 a month to stay in a pod. Basically, you go in, you check into the pod, you have 12 hours, and you get out. The only bad part about the pod is you can't keep your stuff there. So is there a solution to that? Possibly, yeah. The place that builds the pod hotel can actually have the monthly locker rentals, probably for about the size of a Foot Locker. Now, the reason I'm talking about with this is because of back in my day, a lot of people would use homeless shelters that were residential homeless shelters. And a lot of these residential homeless shelters would allow you to purchase a Foot Locker, and you can be able to keep all of your belongings in the Foot Locker. So, because of you keeping your belongings in the Foot Locker, well, you know what? You can keep your stuff there. When you leave and when you return, you get your stuff back. The only people that are there are the people that clean the building, and I have never had a problem leaving my belongings there while I went to go and work, do what I need to do, come back, and go to bed. That's pretty much the way a hostel should be able to work. Give yourself a place to lay your bag, to keep your bag safe. When you're done for the day, you go in, you check into your hostel, and you go to bed. This will be a perfect solution for housing problems, for people that work, and maybe sightseeing vacations for, people that are not really into wanting to stay in a hotel or motel. They just want a place to sleep. So, maybe if we can be able to get pods more widespread, we'll see them possibly solving our housing crisis. Now, there's going to be a lot of people that are going to disagree with me on this, but the thing is I would guarantee you that about 20% of the people that are in an apartment right now, 20% of the people in these apartments right now that are paying $1,200 a month, or paying $3,000 a month in San Francisco, are working 2 jobs. And they're working 2 jobs, and they're out for 16 hours a day, and they go back to their room. Now, in general, when it comes to their weekend, a lot of times their weekends are split up, so they have an extra 8 hours, or maybe 8 hours. 8 hours. They have an extra 16, 32 hours in their work week if they're not doing overtime. But what are they doing during that time? Well, they're using that time to socialize. They're using that time to get laundry done. They're using that time to be able to get groceries done. And by the time they get done with all the stuff that they need to get done on their weekend, it's over. So what if they had a chance to be able to do inside of their apartment besides sleep? Maybe browse the internet and cook a meal or 2. A pod with a community area, you can probably do the same. So that's what I'm talking about with sleeping pods, and I know that if we could ever get them through fire code and through the emergency personnel, that these would be the most viral thing in the States. It would be more viral than somebody staying in the hostel. So, what do you guys think about sleeping pods? Do you guys think that sleeping pods will actually work in the United States and Europe? Let me know in the comment section below. If you like this video, please like and share the video. If you are new here, please subscribe. And until next time, let's keep on walking.